In the vast expanse of space, humanity had always imagined first contact would be peaceful. We were wrong. When the Galactic Council discovered Earth in 2157, they didn't come with open arms. They came with demands. Submit to our authority, they said, or face extinction. Their crystalline ships darkened our skies, a show of force meant to cow us into submission. Little did they know, humans don't take kindly to threats. I remember standing in the United Earth Defense Command Center when their ultimatum came through. The alien transmission showed the Council representatives, tall, ethereal beings with iridescent skin who looked down at us through glowing compound eyes. Their spokesman, High Counselor Vexthor, spoke with such condescension it made my blood boil. They called us primitive, unstable, too dangerous to be left unchecked. But they made one crucial mistake. They gave us 6 months to decide. 6 months they thought we'd spend squabbling among ourselves, weakening our resolve. Instead, humanity did what it does best. We united, we adapted, and we prepared. I was just a junior communications officer back then, watching in awe as the greatest minds on Earth worked tirelessly, reverse engineering fragments of alien tech from previous crashed scouts. We kept those crashes secret for decades, and now that knowledge became our edge. While the Council waited smugly in their orbital positions, we were building something they never expected. A defense system that could turn their own technology against them. The day of our response came. I'll never forget Admiral Chen's words as she stood before the global broadcast. We choose neither submission nor extinction. We choose to fight. The Council's laughter at our defiance echoed through every speaker on Earth. Their amusement turned to shock when our quantum pulse weapons activated, disrupting their supposedly impenetrable shields. That was just the beginning. The Council had expected a primitive species cowering in fear. What they got was decades of human military strategy unleashed at once. Guerrilla warfare adapted for space, decoy fleets hiding our real attacks, and technology they'd never imagined we could develop so quickly. But the real surprise, the other species who'd been waiting for someone to stand up to the Council. As our ships engaged in the first battles, we received transmissions from resistance movements across the galaxy. Turns out, we weren't the first world the Council had tried to bully, just the first to fight back effectively. Now, 3 weeks into what the media is calling the Liberation War, I'm tasked with documenting our story. The Council's retreat from Earth's orbit was just the first victory. Their commanders still don't understand how their simple containment operation turned into a full-scale galactic uprising. They don't understand because they never bothered to study our history, our literature, our spirit. They didn't know about Thermopylae, Agincourt, or the countless times smaller forces had overcome seemingly impossible odds. They never read about how humans are at their best when backed into a corner. They didn't realize that by threatening our entire species, they'd unite us like never before. But most importantly, they never learned the lesson that so many others had learned the hard way. Humans don't bow to tyrants. We break them. And now, as our fleets push further into Council space, as more alien species join our cause, I can't help but wonder, what will the galaxy look like when the dust settles? The Council's diplomats are already calling for negotiations, but there's no going back to the old order. Whatever comes next, one thing is certain, humanity will have a say in it. This is the story of how Earth didn't just survive first contact. We changed the galaxy forever. And we're just getting started. The Council's first major counterattack came 3 days after our initial victory. Their warships emerged from hyperspace not above our major cities as expected, but over Earth's agricultural centers. They thought targeting our food supply would break our will to fight. Instead, it showed us exactly what kind of enemy we were dealing with. I was in Nebraska when their ships appeared, documenting the underground hydroponics facilities we'd built in preparation for war. The sight of those massive vessels, dark against the morning sky, should have been terrifying. But something had changed in us since their first arrival. The farmers around me didn't run. They moved with purpose, activating the defense systems they'd been training to use for months. What happened next became known as the Heartland Defense. Thousands of smaller ships, hidden in grain silos and barn structures, launching simultaneously across the American Midwest, European plains, and Asian steppes. The Council forces had expected to find defenseless farmland. Instead, they found themselves caught in a carefully planned trap. Our ships were smaller, yes, but we designed them specifically for atmospheric combat, using our knowledge of air warfare refined through centuries of conflict. The alien vessels, built for the cold vacuum of space, found themselves outmaneuvered by pilots who'd grown up flying through wind and weather. It was like watching eagles trying to catch sparrows. The bigger ships just couldn't match our agility. But the real game changer was the new tech we developed. Dr. Zhang's quantum entanglement disruptors, QEDs for short, proved devastatingly effective against the Council's neural-linked control systems. Their ships relied on instantaneous communication between crew members through a kind of technological telepathy. The QEDs turned that advantage into a weakness, creating confusion and chaos in their ranks. The footage from that day shows Council ships crashing into their own forces, their coordinated attack patterns dissolving into disarray. We lost good people too. Every victory in this war has come at a cost, but we proved something crucial. Humanity could not only defend Earth but win decisive battles against supposedly superior forces. What happened next changed the course of the war. As the Council fleet retreated, we detected unusual transmission patterns. At first, we thought it was distress signals, but our analysts discovered something far more interesting: encrypted messages from beings inside the Council ships reaching out to us. It turned out the Council's empire wasn't as unified as they pretended. Their crews included members of subjugated species, forced to serve through sophisticated control implants. When our QEDs disrupted those implants, many seized the opportunity to rebel. Suddenly, we weren't just fighting for Earth. We were becoming the spark that ignited a galaxy-wide revolution. The Council's response was predictable. They branded us terrorists, claimed we were using forbidden weapons, and tried to rally their allied species against us. But their propaganda fell flat when their own ships started defecting. First a few, then dozens, then entire battle groups, turning their guns against their former masters. I interviewed one of the first defectors, a being who called themselves First Speaker Zix. Their species had been serving the Council for over 300 years. We watched your broadcasts. They told me, their translators struggling to convey the emotion in their harmonics. We saw how you lived, how you valued freedom, how you refused to submit. It gave us hope. Now, as I compile these records from the front lines, I can't help but feel we're living through a pivotal moment in galactic history. The Council's grip on power is slipping, their carefully maintained image of invincibility shattered. But they're not defeated yet. If anything, they're becoming more dangerous as they grow desperate. Our latest intelligence suggests they're gathering their forces for something big. The question is, what are they planning? And are we ready for whatever comes next? The Council's grand plan was more terrifying than any of us could have imagined. Our deep space monitoring stations detected it first, massive energy signatures, unlike anything we'd seen before, gathering at the edge of our solar system. The readings were off the charts, suggesting they'd marshaled nearly a third of their remaining fleet for this operation. But it wasn't just the size of their force that worried our commanders. Something felt off about their approach. The Council ships were moving too slowly, too deliberately, almost like they wanted us to see them coming. Admiral Chen called an emergency meeting of Earth's Defense Council, and I was there to document what would become a turning point in the war. "They're not here to conquer Earth anymore," the Admiral said, her voice grave as she studied the holographic display. "They're here to make an example of us." Intelligence from our alien allies confirmed her suspicion. The Council had pulled these ships from dozens of worlds, leaving their own territories vulnerable. This was a desperate gamble, a final attempt to crush not just Earth's resistance, but the hope we'd given to others. The next 48 hours were a blur of activity. Every ship we could spare was recalled to the solar system. Civilian vessels were retrofitted with whatever weapons we could install. On Earth, people moved into the underground cities we'd been building since first contact, turning our planet's surface into one massive military installation. I found myself aboard the flagship Independence, documenting what could be humanity's final stand. The mood among the crew was tense but focused. Veterans of our earlier victories against the Council worked alongside former rebels from a dozen alien species, all united by the knowledge that failure meant not just Earth's destruction, but the end of freedom for countless worlds. The Council's message arrived exactly when we expected it. High Counselor Vexthor's hologram appeared on screens across Earth and every ship in our fleet. He looked different now. Gone was the smug superiority of our first encounter, replaced by cold fury. "Your species' defiance ends today," he declared. "Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will reduce your world to ash." But something in his voice betrayed him. A hint of desperation that our xenolinguists picked up immediately. The Council wasn't just fighting to keep Earth in line anymore. They were fighting for their very survival as a governing body. Our rebellion had inspired too many others, created too many cracks in their carefully constructed empire. That's when our long-range sensors detected something that changed everything. Behind the Council's massive fleet, more ships were appearing, but they weren't reinforcements. The energy signatures matched vessels from species we'd helped liberate, dozens of civilizations arriving to stand with Earth against their former oppressors. The Council had wanted to make an example of us. Well, they were about to get their wish, just not the kind they'd planned for. As both fleets moved into position, as weapons were charged and shields raised, I couldn't help but think about how far we'd come. 6 months ago, we were just one planet facing an impossible ultimatum. Now we were the heart of the largest rebellion the galaxy had ever seen. The next few moments would determine not just Earth's fate, but the future of every species in the galaxy. As Admiral Chen gave the order to battle stations, as our allies moved into formation alongside us, the true scale of what humanity had started finally became clear. The Council had sought to break us, but instead, they'd helped forge something far more powerful, a coalition of free worlds, united in the belief that no species should bow to tyranny. The final battle was about to begin, and the galaxy would never be the same. Just as our combined fleet prepared to engage the Council forces, our quantum sensors detected something unprecedented. A massive distortion in space-time, far larger than any jump signature we'd ever recorded. At first, we thought it was a new Council weapon, but the energy pattern was completely foreign. Even our alien allies were baffled. From the distortion emerged a ship of impossible size, its design unlike anything known to any species in our coalition. Its surface seemed to shift and flow like liquid metal, defying our attempts to get a clear scan. Both our fleet and the Council's froze in their positions, weapons charged but waiting. The mysterious vessel positioned itself between the opposing armadas, and for a moment, absolute silence filled the command channel. That silence broke when our communications array picked up a transmission, not in any known language, but somehow understood by everyone who heard it. "The experiment has reached its conclusion," the message stated. The words seemed to bypass our translators, appearing directly in our minds. What experiment? The question echoed through every ship in both fleets. The answer shook the foundations of everything we thought we knew. This entity, calling itself the Observer, revealed that both humanity and the Council had been part of a galaxy-wide social experiment running for millennia. The Council wasn't the true power in the galaxy. They were just another test group, given authority to see how they'd wield it. Admiral Chen's face remained stoic as the Observer explained, but I could see her hands tightly gripping the command console. Humanity, it seemed, was the control group, the only major civilization left completely untouched by outside influence. Our resistance against the Council wasn't just unexpected. It was the first genuine response to tyranny the galaxy had seen in thousands of years. But here's where things got complicated. The Observer wasn't alone. Its appearance had revealed a hidden schism among these ancient watchers. Some believed the experiment should continue, while others argued that humanity's response proved it was time for all species to chart their own course. Our rebellion hadn't just challenged the Council's authority. It had sparked a debate among beings who had been manipulating galactic civilization since before Earth had multicellular life. The Council's reaction to this revelation was chaos. Some ships immediately powered down their weapons, their crews seemingly broken by the knowledge that their entire civilization was built on a lie. Others, led by High Counselor Vexthor, refused to accept this new reality. They opened fire, not on us, but on the observer's ship. What happened next defied explanation. The energy weapons that had devastated our earlier battles seemed to pass through the observer's vessel like light through glass. The massive ship didn't retaliate. It simply continued its transmission, revealing more about the true history of our galaxy, even as the Council's desperate attack continued. In the midst of this chaos, our sensors detected another anomaly, smaller distortions opening up throughout the battlefield. More observer ships? No, something else was coming through, something that would force every species present, including our mysterious new arrivals, to make a choice that would echo through the cosmos. Admiral Chen turned to her command staff, her expression grim but determined. "Send word to every ship in our fleet," she ordered. "All hands to battle stations. I don't care how ancient or advanced these beings are, humanity didn't come this far to become someone else's experiment." As I recorded her words, I realized we were about to witness not just the end of the Council's reign, but perhaps the beginning of a completely new chapter in galactic history. The true war, it seemed, was just beginning. From the newly formed distortions emerged ships that looked like perfect mirrors of our own vessels, exact copies of both human and alien craft from our coalition. These weren't just similar designs. They were identical duplicates down to the smallest detail, except they seemed to be made of the same flowing metal as the observer's vessel. The implications hit everyone at once. We weren't just being watched, we were being replicated. Admiral Chen made a decision that would change everything. Instead of engaging either the Council or the mysterious new arrivals, she ordered our entire fleet to power down weapon systems. We refused to be pieces in anyone's game. She broadcast on all frequencies. "If you want to observe humanity, observe this. We choose our own path." The response was immediate and unexpected. Our alien allies, one by one, followed suit. The Council ships, seeing this unprecedented display, found themselves at a crossroads. High Counselor Vexthor's voice cracked as he ordered his remaining loyal ships to fire, but his own crew refused. The mighty Galactic Council, built on borrowed authority, crumpled not with a bang, but with silence. The observer's ship pulsed with energy, and suddenly every being in every ship could see the truth. Countless civilizations across multiple galaxies, all part of various experiments, all watching what was happening here. We weren't just fighting for our solar system or even our galaxy. We were fighting for the right of every species to determine its own destiny. That's when First Speaker Zix noticed something crucial about the mirrored ships. They weren't perfect copies after all. Each one showed a slightly different version of our vessels, like glimpses into parallel universes where we made different choices. The observers weren't just watching us. They were studying every possible version of us. Admiral Chen seized this moment. "You want to know what makes humanity different?" She challenged the observers. "We don't need infinite possibilities. We make our choices and stand by them. That's what makes them matter." As she spoke, our sensors detected massive energy buildups in the observer vessels. They were preparing something big. But humanity had one final card to play. During the entire confrontation, Earth's best scientists had been analyzing the observer's transmission method, the one that spoke directly to our minds. Dr. Zhang's team had modified our quantum entanglement disruptors, and now they deployed them with a new purpose, not to attack, but to communicate. The effect was instantaneous. Every being in range, including the observers, suddenly shared not just thoughts but experiences. The fear of a civilian hiding in an underground shelter during the first Council attack. The joy of an alien child freed from neural controls. The determination of a resistance fighter standing up to tyranny. Not just facts, but feelings, the very essence of what it means to be truly free. The flowing metal of the observer ships began to crystallize, their perfect surfaces cracking to reveal something underneath. They were changing, adapting, learning. The ancient beings had spent eons watching and replicating, but they'd never truly understood what they were seeing until now. In that moment, the experiment truly ended, not because the observers declared it so, but because their subjects had outgrown the boundaries of the test. The mirrored ships dissolved, their energy dispersing into space like stardust. The massive observer vessel began to transform, its surface reshaping into something new, a structure that looked both alien and familiar, a bridge between what was and what could be. High Counselor Vexthor, watching his empire dissolve around him, made one last desperate move. But before he could act, his own crew stopped him. Not with weapons or force, but with something the Council had never understood: compassion. They offered him the same choice they'd been given: to learn, to grow, to change. As the dust settled, Admiral Chen's voice carried across the battlefield one final time. Today, we all face the same choice: to remain experiments, or to become explorers. Earth stands ready to walk this new path, not as leaders or followers, but as equals. The galaxy would never be the same, but then again, that was the point. We had proven that the most important experiments weren't the ones you observe, but the ones you live. 10 years have passed since that fateful day, and the galaxy has transformed in ways none of us could have imagined. The massive observer vessel that crystallized during our shared consciousness event became the foundation for the Nexus, a meeting place where all species gather as equals. Its flowing metal structures still shift and change, reflecting the dynamic nature of the alliances and friendships forged there. I walk these halls now, no longer just documenting history, but helping to shape it. The council chambers, once a symbol of oppression, have been transformed into open forums where representatives from thousands of worlds gather to share knowledge and resolve conflicts through understanding rather than force. Even former council species found their place here, having shed their old hierarchies for a chance at genuine cooperation. High Counselor Vexthor's story became an unexpected symbol of redemption. After his crew prevented his final desperate act, he chose to work with the very species he once sought to subjugate. Today, he leads an initiative helping worlds damaged by council rule rebuild their civilizations, finding purpose in restoration rather than control. The observers themselves underwent the most profound change. Unable to remain mere watchers after experiencing the depth of organic emotion and connection, many chose to take physical form and live among us. They bring with them insights from eons of observation, but now they learn as much from us as we do from them. Their greatest discovery, they say, was finding out how much they'd missed by never truly participating in the story of life. Earth has changed, too. Our cities now stretch into the sky with technology that blends human innovation with knowledge shared by our allies. But we've kept our core identity: our art, our music, our endless drive to explore and understand. Alien tourists flock to experience what they call the human spirit, though we just call it living. Dr. Zhang's quantum entanglement technology, which helped bridge the gap between all species that day, evolved into something revolutionary. The knowledge shells, as we call them, allow beings from different species to share experiences directly, breaking down the last barriers to true understanding. But we use them sparingly, having learned that it's our differences, as much as our connections, that make us strong. Admiral Chen retired last year, though retired might not be the right word. She now leads expeditions into unexplored space, seeking out new civilizations that might have been part of other experiments. Her mission isn't to integrate them into our alliance, but to offer them the same choice we all had: to join the galactic community on their own terms. First Speaker Zix became a bridge between the old and new. Their people, once forced to serve as translators for the Council, now help facilitate genuine dialogue between species. The difference, they told me recently, is that now we translate understanding, not just words. As for me, I'm still recording our story, but now I understand why it matters more than ever. The experiment may have ended, but in many ways we're all still experimenting, learning how to grow, how to connect, how to be better than we were yesterday. Every day brings new challenges and discoveries, but we face them together, not as subjects or observers, but as fellow travelers in the grand adventure of existence. Yesterday, I watched a group of children, human, alien, and even a young observer, playing in the Nexus Gardens. They were making up some complicated game with rules that seemed to change every minute, and they were laughing, not through translators or knowledge shells, but with the simple joy of being alive and free to choose their own path. That's when I realized our greatest victory wasn't defeating the Council or surprising the observers. It was proving that the universe becomes more beautiful when every voice adds to its song, when every story gets to write its own ending. And our story, it's only just beginning.